Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. It's Friday, so happy Friday, everyone. And I'm Chris McElwain, obviously not Paul John Dykes. He is not taking a break, although we always wish he would, but he is off conducting some important Acsom, very super ultra secret business.
We wish you would. Do you want to clarify that, young man? We wish you would.
We wish he would. We wish he would. No, he keeps it. We wish he would take a break because he is the hardest working. Second hardest working man. I'm with the hardest working man in show business with the Oracle, Acsom's own Oracle, Jim Orr. How are you, Jim, today?
Good. I haven't seen you since what? 12 hours, 13 hours.
I know, and probably safe to say a few of the Acsom viewers probably feeling the same. Yes, we were at Grace's last night with John Hartson. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We've also got some big news today that the draw has been made for the Champions League, Jim, so we know who we'll be facing. I mean, it was, I'm not sure whether you'd be between a rock and a hard place with the teams that we could have been drawn against. But the draw has been made. First leg will be at home. The tie will be played between the 11th and 12th of February. First match at home, as we said. The second leg will then be played either the 18th or 19th of February. So actually not long to go before those come off. And of course, we are playing Bayern Munich in that tie. So it's going to be a real showpiece. However, going back to the night with John last night, he did feel relatively optimistic about the fact that we've got the first leg at home. He feels that that's actually the best position to be in. And given our ability, I think, to compete with the best of them at Celtic Park, it could give us something to potentially hold on to for the return leg. But I know it's tough to feel massively confident when you're going in against a team such as Bayern Munich with their
Love prestige. Your optimism. That's good. That's a good way to start the show. Optimistic. I heard that scene on the BBC earlier, and he said choose your poison between the two of them, which is quite an apt phrase.
I think that's pretty apt, right?
It's kind of who's going to give you the biggest doing. And I think Real Madrid are giving us the biggest doing, and because they are the Champions League team of teams, and Bayern are still at that kind of, maybe not at that level, but not that far off that level. So it's always going to be difficult. The thing I didn't understand, posted this in the way back. Actually went to watch the game in Bad the other night, the Barras Arts and Design, Acsom night. So we had 2 Acsom nights in a row here. And it was good, apart from the result. Obviously, good night. I was told there'd be a couch there that I could hide behind, and there wasn't. So Dykes has broken his promise there. After 5 minutes, I felt quite exposed. Standing there, 2 goals down, not a couch in sight to hide behind. Because you're thinking at that point, it's another Dortmund coming up. But Munich. I mean, you could see us doing something, maybe sneaking a wee 1-goal victory at Celtic Park. But if we put Bayern Munich out over 2 legs, you'd have to say that has to be one of the best performances in a long time. To put a team of that quality, given the context of where we are now, if it was the 70s, it's completely different. But where we are now and the disparity with the money and everything that goes with it, I mean, it's... I don't know what odds the bookies are giving, but that tells you where we are within this tie. But thankfully the first game's at home, because if we went over there in a bit of a doing, and the second game's a bit of a damage squad, but not trying to be too despondent, but the evidence the other night was a bit disheartening. I thought, no doubt we'll kind of go into that. But it is what it is. It's just a shame those were the 2 teams we go. If we'd have got another, maybe a third pot team in there somewhere, you could maybe dare to dream. But it's a bit of a slap. I'd imagine they were both Bayern and Real Madrid thinking, please Celtic, please give us Celtic. But anyway, it is what it is. So we bash on with that.
Absolutely, but Jim, is that not when we're at our best, when we're the absolute underdogs? I mean, when the chips are against us, we do tend to show our best and show our resilience and come through. And so there's certainly, I felt last night, we were talking to a few people at Grace's, met some fantastic people last night, I have to say, and I did have to use my photography skills, as limited as they are. So I hope anyone that I was taking pictures for last night, I hope they were okay this morning. But it was a pleasure to meet many of you. But I thought there was a sense of cautious optimism about, us not going into the tie fearing the worst, but actually feeling, we could go there and make a little bit of a statement, even if we don't get across the line in the two legs, which is obviously the possibility. I think a lot of people have seen progress this year. We keep harping on about progress in Europe this year and showing what we can do, albeit there's been kind of ups and downs in terms of performances and some challenging moments. But I think a lot of people recognise we're here on merit. We're not just in this tie to make up the numbers. For me, I think we'll go there, give it our best shot, hopefully come away with a degree of respectability, and hopefully it's not another a replication of the last game against German opposition this season.
I think we have to change how we go about things. I mean, the thing the other night was, again, I thought we'd get a doing at Villa Park. I think they're a good team. Top six, one of the toughest leagues in the world. They play with pace and power, and in that 5 minutes at the start, you're thinking, oh, here we go. And I just felt, one of the things I thought, when I saw the team went up, I thought, Yang. And that kind of sums up for me where we are with us. Because, we don't have the wingers. So why do you play Yang? Because you need to play a winger. You don't need to play a winger. And I thought, the manager has forgotten 10 times more than I even know about football. But when you watch Celtic all the time, and obviously, he sees a player in Yang, he's given him lots of minutes. And there's a game, Champions League game, forget what was it Leipzig, possibly with 20 minutes ago, he brings him on instead of Forrest. You think, well, obviously, you see something in the lad, but I think he struggles at SPFL level. And then you throw him in, not only a Champions League game away from home against a good team, and he was pretty invisible. And I just think for the game the other night, I think you have to, again, I'm not trying to teach the manager what to do, but you're thinking, well, do you have to play wingers? If you don't have enough wingers, don't play wingers. And for me, I think the player I felt sorry for the most this season is Bernardo, because I think he's a smashing player, and he's ideal for games like that. He kind of shuts off the space and just and he's not a spectacular player, just goes about kind of does his job at kind of Neil Lennon-esque. You don't notice him, but he kind of he does well. And I just felt the other night, don't bother playing with wingers, because the type of team Aston Villa they're going to break on you. Bulk up the midfield a wee bit, and maybe play Ida up front on his own and play Kuhn just behind him with kind of floating role between play McGregor.
Try different,
Play McGregor in front of the back four and play Bernardo, Engels, Hatate. Just too open, and Yank contributes nothing, and then brings on Palmer. And what do you expect when he's coming on? So I just felt that was hard at the start, and then when they score the 2 goals so early, and you're thinking this is Dortmund take 2. I think you could split the game into 3 parts. Maybe the first 25 minutes and the last 20 minutes, and then the second half. And no doubt you were doing your podcast and Wednesday, and if you'd have paused the game after 25 minutes, you'd have been talking like it was Dortmund 2.
Yes.
In terms of, this is like shambolic, amateurish, basic mistakes and what have you. But I think when you lose 2 goals in the first 5 minutes, I can understand kind of what happens next, because panic sets in there.
Yeah. After
that, you're trying to take the safe options. You're trying not to make mistakes. And other teams are just buoyed with confidence. And your game plan's out the window. It's a matter of trying to survive that. And they should have scored another 2 or 3 goals in that first 25 minutes. But you get through that, and your half-time goals, and I'd imagine it's, whoa, we're back in this. 2 good team goals, we showed resilience, and da-di-da-di-da. And I was more disappointed with the second half, because we hardly laid a glove on them. Because having got back in the game, you think, well, change things around, do something a bit different.
Yeah.
Let's go on and try and win this game. And we weren't in it the second half. But they could have scored another 2 or 3 goals. And the good thing was only get beat 4-2, because it could have been 6-7-2 the other night. And that would have been quite damaging in the end from a kind of confidence point of view. But yeah, I had no great expectations in Wednesday, but we got to half time at 2 each. You're thinking, let's just go for this. But keeping Yang on, I'm thinking, we had to do something different. We're getting cut open too easily. The goals we lost, obviously the 2 goals in the second half, we could have avoided if Scales could have taken the booking, Engels could have taken the booking, a young boy coming on making a hash of things. So, just as I said, you'd have taken 4-2 after 5 minutes. So, and getting through that, it's one of one of those death by 1,000 cuts after 5 minutes. You're thinking, how bad is this going to be? But you fast forward to the end, we only lose 4-2, scored 2 really good goals, good boost for Ida's confidence. But I think it's given the manager a lot of food for thought in terms of how we approach these kind of games. We're just too open. And every time they went up the park in the first 25 minutes and most of the second half, you thought, we're going to lose a goal here. And if it wasn't for Schmeichel making a few saves, and he was at fault as well, some of his distribution, because people talk about
that's been pointed to,
he's really good with his feet. And you think, well, I'd have said in the last maybe half dozen, 10 games, there's been maybe one incident in every game where he's done something that's almost led to a goal to the other team. And people are very quick to kind of have a go at people like Carl Starfelt a few years ago, he's always got a mistake in him. I think Schmeichel, with his distribution and the evidence of the last maybe 10 dozen games, every game there's been something you think, what are you doing? So anyway, I'm trying not to be too negative. I mean, where we are in the context of the season, whether I think there's still 15 games to go after that game was cancelled. 10 points clear, a game in hand, League Cup in the bag. We're done what we set out to do, get into the knockout stage of the Champions League. And that's about I didn't understand. As I said, I thought the Champions League, what was top 8 go through, bottom 8 go out, and the 16 that are left are paired off each other according to their placing. So, like the 9th team play the 24th team and the 10th team play the 23rd team. And I thought we were playing Bayern Munich because they were the 4th best, we were the 4th worst. And then I get home to find out there's this pairing system, and I've no idea where that came from. What's the logic behind that?
I can't figure it out, to be honest, Jim. I've had a look at it as well, and even with my sort of semi-analytical background, I kind of make head nor tail of it.
No, you're thinking, well, what's the logic behind that? Because it's been such a kind of a logical tournament so far in terms of how it's worked with the 8 games and 4 home, 4 away, and you play different teams, and you think, well, that's all logical. And you've done this wee extra step that I don't get. So why is it? Why is it pairing teams? Why is it 8? Why is it not 4s and 4s? Why is it not 8 and 8? Why is it just? If anyone's in the chat room, there's a wee question. What was the logic behind pairing teams off and having a draw? It just seems quite bizarre. But anyway, notwithstanding that, we're in a good place this season. We've kind of ignored the transfer window a wee bit, and it's nearly finished. So,
I know. Well, we will get to that. We will get to that. But I do want to say, this is one of the reasons why I love whenever I'm hosting, and it's always a privilege to host you guys. But whenever I've got Jim on, it's dead easy because I can just sit back and let Jim go. And to be honest, I'm just as enthralled as I'm sure everybody that's watching is with Jim's viewpoints.
Just waiting on the ageist comments. So
I would never do such a thing, Jim. You know that.
Go for it, son. Go for it.
my parents always taught me to respect my elders, so I'm not doing that.
Keep digging, son. Keep digging. Yeah.
No, not at all. But look, I think one of the points you made there, Jim, I think is important, is that you set out expectations at the start of the season. You're looking for us to be, competing and continuing, at least our dominance domestically. Manager to do it. I think we'd good backing in the transfer window. Largely, we're looking for that to continue this window, and we'll get to that in a moment. But Europe is really where we want to measure our progress. And I think, most of us would probably concede if we said, look, qualifying this year, given how we've performed in the last couple of years, results-wise, I know there were some high points in terms of performance, but results-wise, I think many people would have said, well, this exceeds the expectation, really, or the expectation levels, or at least it is as much as what we would have expected. And we're still in. We've got 2 legs to do something maybe absolutely spectacular. And there's still 24 hours in the transfer window, hopefully to get some last minute reinforcements in. We've brought back not forgotten.
It's not Monday night. I thought it was Monday night, is it not? I thought
it might be. It may very well be. To be honest, I've not checked.
I'm just when's the transfer deadline?
Yeah, so somebody can confirm that if it's Monday evening. I think it'll be interesting. Maybe Acsom should do the old Jim White thing and sit up and see if we get any signings past the deadline. But I
think because we've done so well this season, it's not been such a big issue. Because usually we're screaming in the first day of the transfer window, sign somebody. Because of where we are, because how the season has went, I think we're all pretty pleased at where we sit just now. But we know we need other players. I think if you're one of the suits at Celtic Park and you're looking at the season overall, do we need to sign a lot of players to win this league if we're 10 points clear of a game in hand? The chances are we don't. Do we need to sign players to win the Scottish Cup? The chances are we don't. Given who we've now got in this playoff, are signing more players going to make a difference? Chances are not. If we'd have drawn one of those pot 3 teams and thought, look, we've got a real chance here, that might pay for itself. Get out and buying 1 or 2 players. You're here to win that game. I mean, even bringing in Jota, I think it's going to take months. Hopefully not. Hopefully he hits the ground running.
Hopefully not.
Goals and does his wee celebration, all that sort of stuff. But I just think that will take a few months. I'm not expecting to see Jota whipping up against Bayern Munich. So, and Kyogo leaving, that means we're weaker. I think we're significantly weaker.
Well, I was going to make a point about that, Jim. I mean, is there a valid concern there amongst our supporters, and that we've allowed Kyogo to go, Bayo to go at this point in the season? Yes, we brought in Jota, which I think is it's got the potential to be a fantastic, signing. KT, it looks like, is now pending for the summer, so not necessarily coming in at the moment. So with the consideration, we're still in Europe, we're still competing on all fronts domestically, but we're actually weaker at this point than we were potentially at the start of the season.
I'm annoyed at Kyogo. I just think the fact he wanted to leave, nobody said, well, why did you want to leave? I never heard that question getting asked. And if it's for money, and he wants I've heard this one last payday, but I mean, how much is a signing on fee for Rennes? How much more money is he going to get at Rennes if he gets to Celtic Park? Could we not have made that work? Could we not have bumped some extra money and extended his contract by a couple of years and made the money side of things work? I don't know, because I don't know what the money situation is, but I think given the money we have, and given how good he is, and he's going to score 100, he would have scored 100 goals, not a problem.
Oh yeah,
he's such a talisman. He is really such a talisman. Is he went there for ambition to play in a team who are 14th in the French league or something?
Yes, and he's now managerless as well.
So he's getting no European football, far less Champions League football. So it can be for ambition, and I think under Ange, when he had Jota in one wing and Abada in the other, and we played a certain type of football that suited him, and he was making all these runs, and people were passing to him. The one that always stands out is the Jota pass. Was that Ferencváros, the afternoon game?
Yes, the one just straight across, yeah.
And he was getting passes from everywhere. Remember, I think Rolfson was giving him great pass. So there was a change of style, I think, and it did suit him. But even with that, he still come up with the big goals. I mean, the goal at Ibrox last season, the 1-0 game, I mean, that was pivotal to win the league.
Phenomenal, yeah.
If they'd have lost that game, that's them. They went ahead of us early doors in the league then. It might have been a struggle. That meant so much. The second goal that he scored in the game before New Year last season, the left foot goal, that's my favourite Kyogo goal, because it showed how two-footed he was.
Yes.
And I'm where I sit at Celtic Park, I'm sort of behind that goal, but to the kind of right of that. I mean, he gets the ball and he pivots, and hits with his left foot, and you see it kind of sailing, but you don't know where it's going to, and then the net stops it. You just, everyone's up. Just phenomenal goal. The goal he scored in the last Glasgow derby at Celtic Park when he passed the ball into the net from 20 yards. He's a brilliant player. So Billy Collins, he's brilliant. Anyway, was brilliant. Kyogo, brilliant. What a fellow. We shouldn't have let him go, I think. And obviously it gives Ida a chance to maybe show what he's worth. But disappointed. And I'd much rather we kept Kyogo and not signed Jota than the other way about.
That's a statement. It'll be interesting to see the response to comments.
Well, I think it's going to take. I don't know what Jota we're getting. I mean, the Jota we had when he left was like the top of his game, physically, mentally. He was scoring spectacular goals. He was scoring ugly goals for such a good-looking guy. He was scoring ugly goals. I remember the cup final. The last thing he did was an ugly goal. Remember St Mirren once he got his back into the game, a really scrappy kind of goal. So
that's right.
He was at the peak of his powers when he left. He goes to Saudi. He becomes filthy rich overnight. He's playing in a league that's just it's not at the standard he should be playing at, or the competition he should be playing at. He then goes to France, plays for a team who are struggling. Can he get a game for them, or doesn't convince the manager that he's good enough to stay? And so where's his head at? And obviously he's excited to come back, and we want him back because we want the Jota of 18 months ago. That's the guy we want. But I don't think that's what we've got just now. Hopefully in time, we get that guy back. And as I said, hopefully he's maybe on the bench on Sunday, comes on and gets a chance to show what he can do, scores a goal. And I know my fears are a bit unfounded, but I think it will take him a bit of time. In terms of the Kyogo thing, I think the manager, as I say, I think it's when you go to the games and you watch him, he makes runs all the time, and nobody passes to him. And you can see he's kind of, as he walks back to the halfway line with his shoulders hunched, like, look at the runs I'm making here. Fantastic runs. That's his trademark. That's what he does. And the way we play, again, I'm not trying to be negative. We're in a good place this season. But the way we play, we tend not to pass the ball more than 20 yards. And if you're Kyogo, pass to me. If you pass to me, I'll get in behind. I'll do some damage. And we don't play to his strengths. And I think the manager's also said in the past that he's not looking for his striker to score 20 goals a season. He did the kind of same thing with Griffiths a wee bit. I mean, Griffiths was on fire the previous season.
Yes, that's right.
He came in and thought, well, back in whenever that was, 2016, whenever it was. Was that when he scored 40 goals? I can't remember. I'm losing track.
I think so. Yeah, one of his seasons where we went well over 40 goals, and he was, he was absolutely almost unplayable that season.
Brilliant striker. So you imagine, because well, I don't actually need you to score 40 goals, really. But that's the way he likes to play. So maybe he likes to play with a more physical centre forward, and he spent a lot of money in Ida as well. And I also think the optics of you spend $9 million on a player and don't play him. That doesn't look clever from a managerial point of view. If I'm the manager and I spent $9 million this guy, $11 million this other guy, and they're not stick-on starters, I think if I'm a suit, I'm sitting thinking, £20 million I've given you, and they're no first starters. Question marks there.
Well, it's interesting, Jim. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Jim, because that actually was a point that John Hartson made last night. He said this is maybe the conundrum that Brendan's got, is that he's got an £11 million player, he's got a £9 million player, and he needs them performing so he can demonstrate to the board that actually, this investment was worthwhile. And that was a point he made. And he said it kind of puts Brendan between a rock and a hard place, because he's got a player like Kyogo who he wants to keep happy, wants to play every game, but he's also got this other player who's actually gone a long way to proving some of his doubters wrong with his 2 goals, but he needs him performing. He needs him to perform when he's getting the opportunities.
But that kind of links into the first thing I said there, Chris, about the fact that he seems inflexible. It's either Ida or Kyogo.
Yeah, why not play both of them?
Kyogo as a 10 and play Ida up front. You could play him with 2 up front. You could. There's lots of ways you can mix and match things, but he seems quite strict. This is the way that I'm going to play, and if you do that, you've only got one striker. And Kyogo's scoring big goals. You can't leave Kyogo out, and therefore you've dug a grave for yourself here by bringing in that kind of player at that kind of price and saying, well, I'm actually not going to play him. Yeah. So why do you spend £9 million on that when you've got Johnny Kenny or a Daniel Cummings or keep the boy Vata or something like that? But the fans would go mad in that. And if you spend big money on somebody, the fans like that. It's a kind of show of intent. We're spending big money. I think we all said at the time, we're paying over the odds for Ida. We're paying over the odds for Engels. Why? Because we've actually got the money there. If the money wasn't there, we're not paying $9 million for him. We're not paying £11 million for Engels. We would have stopped at maybe 5 or 6 for Ida, 7 or 8 for Engels. We wouldn't have made any further than that. But the money's there, and if you don't spend it, you end up paying tax on it. So hey ho, you're as well bumping up a wee bit. But yeah, it's an interesting situation that he's in. Now that's been cleared. So Ida's the man, and he's done himself no harm at all with two great goals. Not just wee kind of daft goals, but the way he adjusted his body for the first goal and getting into the position for the second goal and finishing really well. He was one of the really good things the other night. He was the best thing the other night. Aye.
Yeah, I think, and it was great seeing well timed as well. Hopefully, we'll be able to continue that going into the Motherwell game at the weekend. We will start talking about that. Just on recruitment, Jim, I do want to talk a little bit. So we've mentioned Kieran Tierney. It looks as though he is not going to join now until the summer. It's on a pre-contract agreement. Alex Valle, obviously, off to Como. We have been linked to a few other left-back options on a temporary basis. So I think we were linked with Man United. Player Malaysia, is it, who's not really performing there. Not sure we should necessarily be looking at a left back who has been collectively, or as part of a collective, labelled the worst Man United team in history by their manager. But then, sometimes it comes down to the environment, comes down to the manager that a player goes to and plays under, and maybe a good way for the player to regain his confidence.
So these guys from Man United are on silly money.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to kind of watch the dynamics of that these guys are brilliantly more than any Celtic players on, and you bring him in, he's not very good, and he's hardly performing Man United. For me, that's not the way you go. I'm again the concern about the left back situation, because Greg Taylor could leave if the transfer deadline is Monday night. Greg Taylor could leave before Monday night
potentially,
and we've let Bally go. Kieran's not coming into the summer. We're going to play Hatate at left back. Is that the game plan now? We're going to end up, and God forbid we give any oxygen to our rivals and drop some points. But we have to not do anything silly. And how much would it cost to bring in Kieran Tierney? Is that £1 million? Is that £5 million? And it goes up. It's like, if it's $1 million, do it. If it was $5 million, no so sure. But we need to do something, and we can't be bringing in people who haven't shown that they're good players. All we're doing is taking them off United's books for a few months and saving them paying wages, and I just don't think
potentially wasting money for the summer as well, right?
Yeah, and I think obviously, he's maybe trying to because also the kind of either Kyogo thing was the same with Scales and Trusty. That Scales is playing better, so Trusty's not playing. So add his 6 million to the 20 million. You've got 26 million pound of talent sitting on the bench. I think now maybe that's his plan. He's going to play Scales at left back so he can accommodate them all. But then you've got the Carter Vickers situation. I read the other day that he's missed something like 40% of the Champions League games in the past few seasons. So I didn't realise it was that larger figure. And those are the games that we need Carter Vickers for. You would get by with Ross County at home with you at centre half. I didn't mean that. Sorry, take that back, just in case anyone's. I wasn't criticising yourself nor the standard of Scottish football, but we can get by with Narowski or Lagerbielka. I know he's away, but we can get away with good, solid centre half. We don't need. I'm not saying Carter Vickers is elite, but it's obviously very good. So that's a concern. The fact that he's missing these games. I also think that we need to upgrade all the positions. And I've banged the drum before. I thought Bruges and Bodo Glimt, I think they did big centre backs that were just great. Just 6'3", 6'4", but they were dead comfortable on the ball and they play with a bit of pace. We're coming forward. They broke the lines using new technical football jargon. They broke the lines and played passes and drew people out and did pack passes. I'm feeling like Alan Watson. They did good pack passing, took players out of the game. So those are the players we need. I don't think we've got those players.
No.
And that's when I said that when we come up against Bodo Glimt, I kind of realised that's what Ange's trying to do. Ange's trying to get a team that plays like that. We don't have the players to play like that. And we don't have the players just now to play like that. They're good, solid professionals. They're better than any other centre-backs in Scotland. But when they go up to that European level, they struggled. Albeit I thought Trusty and Scales played pretty well the other night. I thought the midfield let us down. To get back to
I would agree with that. I spoke to Paul John last night. We both agreed that, on reflection, looking at the match, Scales, there was a couple of moments where he was caught out, but actually the amount of blocks that he put in during that match was quite impressive. And he does tend to find himself in, good positions for making the blocks at time, particularly when we're under that pressure. Trusty, I think, had a great battle with Watkins. A lot of people have spoken about it. I think he kind of addressed some of the observations people had on, his performance a couple of matches back when he really, he had a bit of a stinker, let's be honest. And he's responded very, very well to...
I think that's the difference, Chris, sorry, but in again, that
no, that's all right.
That when you're playing at Champions League level, that you're just under pressure the whole game.
Yeah, you have to be on it.
You're playing a bit of stress as well. And if your midfield are not doing their job, it's just waves of waves coming at you. So you're going to be involved a lot more than if you're playing, St Johnstone at home, or whatever, where you can stroll through the game just playing all these passes back and forward. So that's a difficult type of game to be playing in, where you're just under constant pressure. And that second half, it was one-way traffic. So I thought they did stand up pretty well. The two centre-backs, they were good. Midfield was poor. Hatate accepted. I thought he had some good touches and whatever. Engels continues to disappoint for me, apart from the wee back flick for the second goal. And that's why I think Bernardo can feel kind of hard done to it, because I know Engels has scored or had goal assists every whatever it is type of thing, but a lot of them are penalty kicks. I just feel I'm not writing him off by any manner of means. I think there's a good player in there, but he's not there yet.
Yeah.
And really, if you're Celtic, you want the players to be hitting the ground running now.
Absolutely. And
having like 8, 9 out of 10 performances every single game. And for me, maybe he's playing the wrong position. I don't know. But I'd like to see Bernardo get a wee run in the team. Maybe Luke McCowan as well. Because I just think as a midfield, he didn't perform. And maybe that's tactical again. Again, as I said at the start, maybe we should have had another in that midfield, because that would maybe stem the time. And if you get more bodies in midfield, you can hang on to the ball a bit better. You can pass the ball around. Whereas if they're looking to play forward passes, you're not confident about Yang, you're only going down Nicholas Kuhn's wing, and you think he struggled on that against that left back as well. Which is what happened to Ibrox. Yeah. That's what happened to Ibrox. You can struggle. So if you're more midfield players, you can hold the ball a bit better. You can you take a bit of time out. You can calm the game down. If you don't have that, it becomes a bit more of a struggle. And I think that's why when you're going to places like Villa Park or Munich to come, I just again, what do I know about football? You can't play that kind of 4-3-3, and you certainly can't play that if you have somebody like Yang in your team, because you're playing with 10 men. And I mean, no disrespect to the lad. I don't think you just...
No,
this level.
think we've discussed it at length. I think we feel that Yang, there's no harm or intent towards the player. But
you group the two of them together because if we'd played Parma from the start of the night, I'd have been saying the same thing. We're not going to get much out of this guy. It's going to be a struggle, and we need kind of all hands to the pump, and that's where something like Maeda's brilliant because he'll obviously run his socks off, and I suppose the only good thing is he'll be back for the Munich away, which is when we need him. Basically, you need that kind of determination, heart, and grit, and all the stuff that Maeda brings to the party. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring in a few comments, Jim, just to see if we can get their thoughts on what we've been saying. And I think so. Bringing Joe Hamilton first. So he said, if the board doesn't back Brendan, he'll leave at the end of the season. Invest in the team, or the team will fall apart. I mean, that's quite a doomsayer view at the moment. But is there some merit in what Joe's saying? There, Jim,
I think it's timing. I think this is all timing. I think that as I said before, given the draw we've got, Bayern Munich, I'm not being negative, but we're out basically because, as I said, if we manage to overcome this is the best. You could say it's the best option. It's Lisbon, you could say that because of where we are in the football food chain. So, every chance we're getting out, and we'll make a few bob out of this next round, and then we're left domestically. So, if we're going to spend a lot of money with a 10-point lead in a game in hand, and to try and win the Scottish Cup, we were playing lower league opposition in the next round. Do we need to spend it now? Or are we saying we need these guys in now to bed them in so that they're up and running for next season? You can make an argument to say yes. I think if our transfers are poor over the summer, you would then look back and say we should have done that in January. But if we make good signings in the summer, there's no real need to spend a lot of money at this point in time. And I think because, as I said earlier, we're having such a good season, we've always known we've almost got one hand in the sort of knockout stage of the Champions League. And because that's always been there, I think we've been a bit more tolerant of what's been happening to transfer. If we're out the Champions League, if we were sitting, 34th before the other night, and the league race was neck and neck, and we'd lost the League Cup final, we'd be in a different place just now, and the fans would be screaming for things to happen. We're in a good place just now, and if I'm one of the suits, I'd be saying, you don't need to spend the money just now, Brendan. Hang on to it for the summer. Because they talk about January traditionally is a difficult time to buy players. I don't know if that's right or not. But I'd be concerned if we're getting linked with the guy you named there. I wasn't aware we were linked with somebody like him. I'm getting John Joe Kenny vibes, basically.
Yes, well, absolutely. That's a fear, isn't it? I mean, that's still strong in the memory.
And given the money that we have, we don't have to have kind of John Joe Kenny vibes. The money's there to go out and get a good professional who can do a job. And again, you don't have to spend, I keep saying, don't have to spend big money on players. And in fact, if you're looking at trying to secure the league or win the cup, there'll be one or two guys playing for other SPFL teams. We could go out and get squad players, not automatic starters, but maybe just to bolster the squad because we get some injuries after we put Munich.
I think you're right, Jim. I think it's a bit smart recruitment rather than recruitment for the recruitment's sake. In that sense, so I was thinking about what we actually.
I'm sorry, I keep butting in, Chris. I apologise.
No, you're fine. This is your platform, sir. I'm quite happy just to let you go.
No couches here. Chances this will be James's last season. Or has he been given an extension? I don't know. Has he? Jamesy Forrest.
I'll need to check that. I'm not 100% sure.
Given his injuries, he's had. Chances this might be his last season, so he's away. Palmer's away. Yang chances away. We're going to be light on the wingers front. So, I'm not saying we should sign somebody like Armstrong from Kilmarnock or Martin Boyle or something like that. But they're guys who know the league, who perform in the league, whatever. It'd be half decent squad players like Luke McCowan. This was looked at as, he's not an automatic first starter. There's £1 million. He's a good one. He's done far better. I think a lot.
I was going to say he's done pretty well.
I like him. He's a great player. He's really good. Good dig. Good left foot. Scores goal. A lot to like about him. So I'm not saying we go out and sign SPFL players or people like Danny Armstrong, whoever. But there's good players out there. If we're looking for squad players to build the squad up, that's what we do. If we're looking to make an impact in the Champions League, what does that actually mean? I think we've made an impact in the Champions League this season, and I don't think until the other night either had contributed very much. Maybe that last minute and young boys when they get the own goal. Engels has scored the penalty kick and then missed a penalty kick. I think he had one really good game. Leipzig, it was very, very good. So we spent a lot of money, and they're not automatic first starters, and they're the same with Trusty. Yeah. So we spent big money to do something in the Champions League, and the number of minutes maybe those guys have had is not as much as you would think they were going to have, given the amount of money that we'd spend. So it doesn't automatically go that you spend lots of money, they're going to hit the ground, they're going to make a huge difference. It's about getting players, it's about signing smarter rather than... Yeah. And we should have another thing. I mean, again, I said this before, ad nauseam, is the fact that when the manager came back, I thought he was a good manager, great, but there's a lack of imagination for me. And going back for Jota to me is like a bit of a lack of imagination. Hopefully he comes back the Jota of old, Kieran Tierney. It's almost like we don't know who else is out there, but these guys have played for us before and they're good. Let's get them back. And they are good additions, don't get me wrong. Kieran Tierney will be a far better player now than he was when he left. And once Jota gets up to speed, hopefully he's a better player than he left. But it's almost like we don't know who else to buy, and we don't want to take a risk.
There is a perception. There is a perception that there's a lack of imagination, that it's going back to the same well again. I think I agree with you. I think in the case of Jota and Kieran Tierney, at least we're bringing two players back that potentially they're not at the end of their careers. We're not giving them a swan song like we may have done with Roy Keane. I mean, you imagine if we got Roy Keane at full fitness, it'd have been immense, but we didn't, and he admits that. But you look at someone like Jota, you think 25. Still, very much could build a huge legacy in terms of not only what he does with us, but in his own career. Kieran Tierney, again, he's played at a higher level, albeit it's been disrupted with injury and being out of the team. But you're hoping you're going to bring someone in that's still got his peak years to come. So I can see the logic behind the signings. But I agree, you're also looking at, well, okay, we're linked with Chris Garden, for example, as a striker. Well, we've been linked with him for, I would say, the best part of a year, if not longer. I mean, seems to have been in and around the last couple of transfer windows. Now we're talking about potentially a record fee. But, okay, if Chris Garden, for whatever reason, doesn't happen in this window or the summer, where's our shortlist? What's our shortlist of players? And how far and wide are we actually scanning for these talent? I mean, we've talked about Engels and Ida coming in for big money, and they're probably still not at the level we'd maybe hope or expect, in terms of consistent performances, in terms of what they're actually bringing to the team. So do we spend bigger, as you say, and augment that quality with more quality so that we draw the best out of them? Or, as you say, is it a case of let's do what we need to maintain our current position, and then in the summer start looking at how do we maintain our current European performance? Because I don't think your expectations can't be such in the summer that you think, okay, we go and better this year's European competition. I don't know if we've got the financial capability to do that. But what you're thinking is, okay, we've qualified. Can we now do that for the next 1, 3, 5 years to become that established qualifier in Europe, rather than we have one good year and then we don't invest wisely enough and we actually drop down? So there's got to be a trade-off, right?
I think just going back to the Kieran Tierney and Jota thing, a year ago, if you'd have said we can get Kieran Tierney and Jota back, you'd be saying that's the stuff of fantasy. Don't be daft. That's never going to happen. Never. I
held out hope. Damn it, Jim! I held out hope.
That's because you're a double denim freak. That's you wanted somebody taking up what's the word I'm looking for? It's justify your existence, but taking up validate. That's the word I'm looking for. Validation. That's the man who wears double denim who gets slaughtered by the fashion police, and obviously say, "Hold on, Jota's back."
I'm glad you clarified that, Jim. I was feeling a wee bit.
You see, Jota's back, so my attire is pretty cool because Jota's back. So he's kind of validated your existence, Chris, at the end of the day, which is
I like to think I'm validating his existence when it comes to
it's a kind of two-way stretch there. Obviously, he's a big fan of you and all that stuff. So I think that was the stuff of fantasy. I think a year ago. And it's like kind of almost like fan top. We can get Kieran back, we can get Jota back. You wouldn't expect the club to go and do that because you think, well, they're away. That's in the past. Where's the new heroes coming? And it's great to have. I'm not saying that it's great to have them back, but for me, it does show a wee bit of a lack of imagination that doesn't say, well, and that's what I said about Bernabeu from Argentina. We scoured the world and we got up with Bernabeu and we paid the guts of £4 million. I'm thinking, he must be a superstar. If we're paying that amount of money and we've scoured the world, and obviously maybe is a superstar the way things have maybe kind of panned out. So, I mean, what was the question about signing players? We're only spending big money because we have the money. There's no way, if you went back 2 or 3 years ago, we'd be paying £11 million for players. No way at all. It's just because the money's there. But you have to watch the money because, you don't want it to disappear. And you get into financial trouble. But we're kind of set up for the next 5-6 years with that money. We've got so much money we can't spend it on the team because we've got so much money.
Absolutely.
And that's where things like, you've obviously got discussions about infrastructure, and the stadium is looking a bit weary because it's over 30 years old now, and should we extend the stand and all that, and all these other discussions to have just now because the money is there. And if we keep on going the way we keep on going, we're selling players for silly money and get into the Champions League, then it is doable. I don't think we'll do it. I think it's too risky, and we're a risk-averse club. But certainly the money is there to make a kind of stab at it. And if we get maybe sell the naming rights to, whoever, Guinness or, IBM or something, who knows? But so from that point of view, the question about spending the money, we don't need the money. We don't need to spend big money just now in the next 3 days to win the SPFL in the Scottish Cup. Given the draw we've got, as I said earlier, if we'd been drawn against a known Tier 1 team and we had a chance of qualifying, you might think, well, tell you what, let's get Tierney in now and let's get this other guy in or whoever and have a real go at that. Because if we qualify for the next round, that's an extra £10 million and that would pay for itself. Let's roll the dice on this one. I wouldn't imagine they would roll the dice, but let's roll the dice. But pulling Bayern Munich out of the hat, only the most optimistic person in the world would think we're getting by them.
It's very much a Celtic. It's very much a Celtic draw, isn't it? It's just very typical of our kind of.
it's just dead disappointing because he's obviously reached the goal of qualifying, and then you think, oh dear, that's who we've got. That's a shame.
Well, I'm going to maintain optimism certainly until the first game at Celtic Park. I'm going to bring in some of the comments, Jim, just to make sure we get time to do it, and then I'm going to unleash you on another topic while we've got time. But I'll bring in Jay Conley, Jay Larkin with Jota. Not much. Just make sure I say that properly. Jota, not much sharp, and the alternative being Yang just for now. Brendan must be raging at Maeda's lack of discipline in the young boys game. He'd never say it publicly, but he can't be happy. I think some people. Have said, we needed more discipline in that match. Ridiculizer comes in with the counterpoint. I think we can excuse Maeda. He's only human, and it's right out of character 99 times out of 100. He's cool as a cucumber. But as it's the levels in the Champions League that mistakes will be punished, and you'll feel the repercussions not just in that game, but beyond.
Two things. Sorry, that's what's happened there.
No, that's all right.
I thought Maeda was really unlucky to be sent off. I don't think there's very much.
As did I.
And he's not, as you say, he's not that kind of guy. And also that's the manager's job. You don't have Maeda for 2 games. So how do you adjust? You put in somebody who's clearly not good enough. And to me, that's on the manager. Rather than doing something different and trying, as I said, to be boring again, to go back to the very first thing I said, is that for me, play your best 11 fit players. And for me, Yang doesn't make that 11. For the guys that are there, we don't have Maeda, we don't have Carter Vickers.
Really good point.
Kyogo's away, all that stuff. So who's the 11? Well, the first 10 pick themselves, and then there's Bernardo and McCowan, and then maybe there's one or two other players before you get to Yang, but Yang's in the team. So for me, he wasn't the guy we should have played the other night. I'm not saying it's his fault we lost, but playing him made it more difficult. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely. Now, another point that's been in the news this week, Jim, and it's one I want to get your view on as a long time supporter of the stadium. No, I meant that in absolutely the right manner.
I think the phrase we're looking for was such a knowledgeable person. That's the phrase we're looking for. Yes, absolutely. We'll go with that. So Jungle Lion comes in, a long-standing member of the Acsom community, I have to say. Pyro is now an issue now, unfortunately. Lots of supporters are going to be punished now. UEFA are going to ban all away Celtic supporters in Munich now, unfortunately. Certainly there's a potential of that, Jim. Now, as someone that attends Celtic Park regularly, you've been in and around the support for many years. But how... I swear, I can't think of another way to say it. But my point is, you've seen various demonstrations, tifos, bans. You've seen it all there. The pyro,
itself, I mean, it's not linked to our club's history. It's not something that I think you can make a compelling argument for keeping. And look, we appreciate it's only a select few individuals that ever do this, but it could result in all the supporters being punished collectively for the actions of a couple of irresponsible people. I mean, what's your thought on it, Jim?
Tifo good, pyro bad.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. Because basically, I was at the. I'm quite close to the boys where I sit at Celtic Park, which is the opposite, kind of diagonal opposite from the Green Brigade. There tend not to be many pyros at the games at Celtic Park that I've noticed, and it tends to be more of a away type thing. Apart from Hampden, because whatever it was it Scottish Cup final there? Was that last season? I'm losing track of time. Last year, a year ago, that was last season, and there was somebody with pyros about 10 feet away from me. But again, it's like I've got the mask on, don't know who it is, and green smoke everywhere. People are coughing. It's a health hazard. It's dangerous. I'm not of an age group that would do it anyway, but I don't understand why they do it. And UEFA.
I just want to point out, you said you weren't of an age group there, Jim. I didn't see a thing there. Just saying.
I could be 25 for all you know. No, I'm not as late teens, early 20s, which I assume is most of the kind of demographic who are doing this stuff.
Yeah.
But if UEFA say if you do that again, you're getting banned. People still do it, then there's not much you can do about them.
Yeah.
Basically, and people. There's guys like Declan McConville of this world, Natasha, because they go everywhere to watch Celtic, and I'm pretty sure they don't have pyros. And if there's no fans going to the Munich game, fans like them will be absolutely livid that this has happened.
Yeah.
They'll be livid that that's happened, and I don't see the sense in it. I don't see tifos are great. Get the tifos up there, big huge tifos, brilliant. Love them to death. They don't need the pyros. And then what happened last season was not last season. It was League Cup final, wasn't it, this season, and the League Cup semi-final. Yeah. It was a semi-final, wasn't it? It was delayed. I mean, you're standing on the ground and you're waiting for the smoke to clear for like 10 minutes. What's again logic? What's the logic in that for a bit of fireworks? I fail to understand what the logic is in doing that, because all it just is annoy people. I know it's going to have more severe repercussions, and at some point they'll even maybe we make it dock points and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what the club can do, and the club are doing what they can to say, look, don't do this. This is bad, and then people stop it.
This is my point, because logistically it must be incredibly difficult to. I mean, you can't search everybody in the ground to the extent where you'd maybe be able to identify that. I mean, logistically that's just not possible. It is very difficult to identify individuals, as you say, particularly in our climate. People are going to wear scarves, they're going to cover their identities, etc. You're relying on good faith of other fans to kind of point them out. But given how difficult it is to prevent this, from a punishment standpoint, collective fans, people like yourself who go there week in, week out, travel, follow the team, and yet suddenly you're told because of the actions of one individual that it's, despite best efforts, we can't prevent this happening, that you're going to miss out on one of the biggest games in the club's history. I mean, surely there must be an alternative to that.
What I noticed at the cup final was that the people with the pyros weren't standing still. It was like they were moving somewhere and then moved back somewhere. So it's not as if you can say, well, section J5, that was even was masked up. Whoever was in J5, they were the pyro people. But you would think close look at TV. You remember somebody tell me, somebody who knew somebody in security was saying you can zoom in somebody's face from where the police think that. And that's what's always surprised me. All the stuff that's happened at Ibrox, that there's not been more arrests made and things happened there, because they can zoom into somebody's face and that's the guy there and he's sitting at such and such a place.
Crikey, they did it in social media, Jim. The guy's face, as clear as anything on through the coin at angles, and yet. Yeah,
but in terms of the pyro thing, I kind of I don't understand the logic of doing it, and we're going to get punished for it. So they need to learn the lessons quickly. Because if I go back, I'll go back to '84 and the Rapid Vienna game, and somebody chucked the bottle on. It didn't hit a player, but the player took a dive and ended up we're out of Europe because somebody chucked the bottle. So that's what could happen. So I don't. It's obviously a younger person's thing, but it's fireworks. Why would you bring fireworks in a football match? And it's dangerous. And there's kids there, and there's people even older than me who maybe suffer from health issues, lungs and whatever. It's just I find it mad that people would want to do this. I don't understand.
Yeah. And I think it's a shame, given that you see some of the displays by the Green Brigade, the tifos, the fantastic. You just have to, absolutely sensational. Look at the one they did for Joe Hart, and the ones that continue to do it's great. But you just don't want to be sullied by, bright light, big bang, smoke. It's the lowest possible.
Somebody could get killed or seriously injured for life.
Yeah, I agree.
For just going, let's hold in it's beyond me. But that's modern society for you. What can you say? So
yeah, absolutely. Jim's shaking his stick, but quite rightly.
Tar those young people with the same brush. All you young people with the brush.
All right, we'll move on from that one, Jim. But I think we do have a game coming up at the weekend. It's Fir Park, 3 p.m. Motherwell, managerless Motherwell. Well, I say managerless. We've got, I think, Stephen Frail is on his interim at the moment, but Stuart Kettlewell recently departing, citing abuse of him and his family at games. They're currently sitting in 5th. They've got 31 points. They're 4 behind Aberdeen in 4th and 1 ahead of Hibs currently. We'll want to. I don't think we'll have too much of a European hangover in terms of the result, Jim. I think the performance had enough good in it that we're carrying in some, decent momentum into the game in Motherwell. How do you see that one shaping up? Do you think Brendan will make wholesale changes? Will we see Jota coming in, for example, or do you think he'll just maintain the strongest team he can and try and maintain our lead at the top?
I think Alexi McCowan coming in, Bernardo coming in. Mentioned them before. Played up front. I don't know. I mean, is we play Yang again? That's I don't know. I just away from home we haven't been great. There's been quite a sequence of games there that we've struggled culminating in that 3-3 draw with Dundee. So we've not been setting the header. I liked away from home. So in Motherwell, as you said, top 5. I mean, how sad a situation is when a manager has to chuck it because of abuse. I mean, I'm assuming that abuse came from Motherwell fans. I
believe so. Yes, that's from what I understand. Yeah.
What's the expectation? They're top 5. I know they get knocked out the cup, but that was St Johnstone. It's not as if they lost to Fraserburgh or something like that. So they're knocked out the cup. They're top 5. They're top 6 in the league. It's a hard place to go. They should have beaten main rivals a few weeks ago. They played some good stuff that day. They've had a reasonably good season, but the guy's getting abuse. Again, it's the youth of today. I don't understand, because I can't imagine all these old guys are all giving Kettlewell a hard time.
I don't know. I've seen a fair few over my years. Some people who should really know better,
shaking their walking sticks at him as he goes by. So, what's their expectation? If I'm a Motherwell fan, top 6 is kind of punching above their weight. I think a cup run would have been good. Did not get to the semi-finals. This was the League Cup. Was that? Andy Halliday scored that goal, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes.
The semi-final League Cup. That was good, and then obviously they're disappointed to lose in the first round. But as again, they're playing a team in the same league away from home, so the chances are it's a cup tie. Anything can happen. So I don't see Motherwell at all, apart from when they play Celtic. So I've no idea about that, but. Playing devil's advocate, I find it quite surprising that the guys had to resign, because the level of abuse must have been to the extent that he felt it had to go. Which is
I think he said that it was against him and his family. His family no longer wanted to travel to games, and I think that's a real shame. It's interesting, one thing I wanted to point to, and I'll just jump back to the John Hartson night last night. Jim, both me and you had the privilege to spend a bit of time in his company outside of the stage. And actually, one of the great things about these Acsom events, and there's so many positives about them, is that you're not only meeting some of the fans, meeting some of the guys who on here and their families who comment, but you're getting to see a side of footballers that you don't often get to see. You certainly don't get to see on the pitch. And everybody remembers how Big John used to play. Giant of a man, big, physical, bit of aggression, bit of needle about him. But we actually talked to him, and a couple of things I want to mention. One, John's living his absolute best life now. He's got his priorities absolutely in order. And he was I thought he spoke very, very well about his struggles with addiction, and not just his own gambling addiction, but players he's encountered with different addictions, different people. I thought he spoke very, very well, very honestly. But the point I'm making is, you see at these events that you're no longer seeing just a footballer or the guy in the shirt on the park. You're seeing the human being. And things affect them, and they're not immune to what comes from the stands. Neither are their families, and I think there is it's something that I think sometimes you lose throughout the 90 plus minutes of a match, particularly even when it pertains to opposition players. But there are human beings behind that, and I think it's really important that we remember that as a support. And okay, Stuart Kettlewell, we don't wish any abuse on any
about the John Hartson thing. He's a nice, big, humble guy, and I was lucky, through Acsom to be able to kind of sit and chat to the guy in the room at the interval type of thing. And I'm always more interested in who they are as people, because you never get a chance.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's when we were chatting there, and I'm saying, well, what are you up to just now? He's got 4 daughters. I think 3 of them are still at school. And he's saying, well, my life's taken up with my kids. I'm taking them swimming. I'm doing this. I like to play a bit of golf, sort of thing. And he's not going to the football as much and whatever. And he's coming up for 50 this year, big hearts. And so yeah, it's kind of, he's just an ordinary punter, basically. And
absolutely.
And that's what you do tend to forget. And I've used the phrase before that these are ordinary people living extraordinary lives. If you get in front of 60,000 people in an old firm game as it was back then, score a winning goal, and have all the adulation that you have, and you're recognised everywhere you go. And he was very open about his gambling addiction, and he's managed to beat cancer and stuff like that. So these are all very, very human things that you don't know what players are thinking, and it's easy just to shout and bob and give them a hard time, during 90 minutes. But some of these guys are going onto the pitch with the weight of the world on their shoulders, relationships, illnesses. It could be, I think, Louis, I keep calling him Louis Palmer, that's Dan DeVito in Taxi, for those older people who are tuning in.
I remember
Louis
that.
Palmer is basically, I think his grandparents died pretty quickly within each other, and he was quite close to them.
A couple of bereavements, sure.
I mean, you also forget, particularly me, these are just young guys, 23, 24-year-old, and that's just kids. At the end of the day,
away from home as well, Jim. You consider where they're travelling from.
And you can look to guys like maybe Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers. You think, well, these are big, strong men, but they're no. They're 20, 23, 24. They're just young boys out trying to make a living, doing something that you can only dream about doing. But most of them are pretty, and that's what John Hartson says, the ordinary guy for a council estate in Swansea. He's living the dream. And nice, big, humble guy. Good company. Good night last night. Always worth listening to. And always worth listening to, as you said, the bits that are not the things you would expect to hear. It's the other stuff behind it. The Joe Ledley night was a bit like that, because he talked about how sad he was to leave the club. He was just told, you're leaving. And that must be shattering, absolutely shattering. Anyway, that's off a bit of a tangent there.
No, I think that's fine. We're just about at time. So just a couple of things I want to point to. So I did meet a lovely couple last night. Martin Davey and his wife May have spoken to him on a few events. So he wants to bring a question forward. Now, there's been a little bit of scrutiny on our midfield this season, Jim, as you know. If you had to play someone as an alternative to Callum McGregor, so playing, not necessarily taking McGregor out the team, but playing someone in that holding central midfield, central defensive midfield role, who would you pick within the club? And if no one's suitable, would you go to the transfer window to bring someone in? So it's a question that came through on the socials for me. So,
well, people see that's Engels' position, and that's where Engels should be playing. And you can make a case for Bernardo playing there. But if you're going to play somebody, it depends on the system you're playing, I think. If you're playing a kind of destroyer type, Victor Wanyama type, just sit in front of the back four and protect him, or Neil Lennon person, pick up the scraps and give the ball to the other guys, then I don't think we have that kind of player. But Engels could play there, Bernardo could play there. We could see Callum further up the pitch, but because he has that kind of, I don't like American football, but that quarterback role, as they call it, he keeps the thing ticking along and whatever. And I think he dictates the play, and that was the bit that we talked about. What was the game? Was it St Johnstone where they didn't play, and so nobody's looking for Callum, and it was a bit like we have Where's Wally every game, and then you take Wally away, and they're looking for other people then. So it wasn't Where's Callum. It was like, we've got the ball, play it forward to somebody. Don't give it to Callum and let Callum dictate the play. And he started off the season like a house on fire, scoring goals from outside the box and keeping things going. It's maybe tailed off a wee bit. This is something Alan Morrison continually picks up because of his age and maybe slowing down or whatever. But yeah, I think I think just maybe somebody playing for that, but particularly for Europe, maybe somebody just to give us that, extra security. And Martin O'Neill's team always played with Lambert and Lennon. Usually, you're kind of two kind of defensive players who are going to just stop anything happening and let Thompson and Agat do it, and let Stan bomb forward to help Chris and Henrik up front. So that was a structure, that was a kind of platform to do things, and it worked well in Europe. I think we're just too open in Europe. And again, what do I know about football compared to Brendan Rodgers? But I'd like to see if I can change the shape to give us a chance of doing something. I think against Bayern Munich, to bring this conversation full circle, we need something like that. I think if we go and play the way we played on against Munich, there's not enough coaches in DFS to hide behind. So
I think I'll be in there with you, John, if that's the case. All right, listen, that's us at time. We've been over 1,700 strong today on a Friday. I hope everybody has a great weekend when it comes. Just a couple of small mentions and small plugs, if we can. So obviously we spoke about the John Hartson night last night at Grace's. There's another night coming up at Grace's in February with Johan Mjallby. That was actually the first Acsom event that I met Jim at, actually, going way back over a year ago now, Jim. So fateful night for you and Acsom, because you ended up recruiting me that night. Jim, for those who don't know, Jim effectively was my agent that night.
Handpicked
by Jim War. So if anyone's fed up with
this guy's such great fashion sense, he has to be on, surely.
Then it all went wrong. But yes, so we do have Johan Mjallby coming up in February, and then in March, reverting to one of our usual venues at Barrows Art and Design, we have the one and the only Martin O'Neill, who is a fabulous listener. So two great events coming up. We're going to have more coming up this year. We are about to relaunch the website. Many of you have seen Liam Carrigan is now going to run the revised Acsom blog, so we'll let you know when that one launches as well. But great opportunity for Liam, but actually a great opportunity for all of us as Acsom fans and Celtic supporters to read some of the great content. And Liam's excellent writer, so hopefully we'll get some good content coming out there. Obviously, for me to say is this has been a Celtic State of Mind on a Friday. I would say senior citizens edition, because we've been a couple of grumpy old men here, Jim. And notice I said a couple. We've been the grumpy old men tonight, but today. But it's been an absolute privilege to be on with the Oracle. Thank you, everybody that commented. Sorry we couldn't get through the comments, but when the Oracle speaks, we listen. Hail, hail, everybody.
Cheers, Chris.